What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo, and today we're going to talk about the top 10 best zero to hero uniforms. So this does not include characters that were already fairly good and they got a uniform and it buffs them up a little bit more. That's not the uniforms we're going to be talking about. We're talking about the characters that were complete and utter trash, that whenever they got their uniform, they just skyrocketed, right? As far as their power level, maybe their survivability, and what so have you, maybe their utility. So this is what we're going to be looking at. Now, there are a lot of characters that have a lot of great uniforms. I actually made a video a couple weeks back, and I went through all of these characters talking about the uniforms that you probably might want to buy during Black Friday. But these are the zero to hero uniforms, starting with Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider, even to this day, is still an amazing character. And seriously, in his base kit, like in this freaking thing right here, he is utter, complete trash. He has nothing in his kit at all for any kind of survivability, for any kind of damage. He has no immunity. He has no invincibility. He has nothing. Zero. But man, when you slap this uniform right here on him, everything changes. Everything changes because he gets insane buffs. He gets ignore iframe. He gets a massive damage buff proc. He gets invincibility. He gets invincibility on his 5. He also has invincibility on his 3. He gets the attack buff on the 5. I mean, the character's damage just skyrockets. And his survivability is actually much better in this uniform. It's not the best survivability compared to other characters as far as like World Boss Legend is concerned. But Ghost Rider's damage is really through the roof. His utility is actually quite insane. I mean, you can still use him in ABX, put up fairly competitive scores, use him in squad battle. I mean, he's just a monstrous character, and one that I would still highly recommend people to get, especially if you're going to get a CTP of Judgment, or if you already have a CTP of Judgment lying around. And these 10 aren't in a specific order at all. We're just kind of randomly going through them. So the next one is a fairly expensive character to level up, but I think one well worth investing into, and that would be Proxima. Proxima and her base kit is absolute trash, right? But even in her in-game uniform here, her only means of survivability is iframes. That's pretty much it. I mean, now she has a tier 3, and that would give her some survivability because it does have some invincibility. But other than that, she's probably going to die because all she has is a bunch of iframes. And as we know, sometimes bosses have ignore iframe with some of their attacks. But when you slap this thing on him, you get a lot of nice little benefits. For one, you get this huge attack buff. You get a heal. You get invincibility, right? You also get the 40% recovery of max HP heal and the invincibility when your HP is below 40%. These are insane survivability tools, not to mention the extra attack buff. But she also gets this nice increased basic damage to superhero faction by 40% and the increased basic damage to supervillain faction by 35% that applies to all villain allies. So not only does she become a much better character and she's damn strong on her own, she also has an amazing passive, and she's always had this great leadership, which is wonderful for Null because it has the ignore target dodge rate by 45%. She's just an insane character, and even she's not the strongest character in the game, but she really is a zero to hero uniform because even like I said, even an in-game uniform, it's nothing. It's not even in the same realm as what this thing is. Next, we have Medusa, and like Proxima, like Ghost Rider, this is an insane change from what she previously had. In this uniform, all she had for her survivability was her immunity. And if you notice, I mean, there's a little crit rate buff, but there's no attack buffs whatsoever. She's got the ignore target dodge rate, which is nice, but she has no attack buffs whatsoever, right? But when you slap this uniform on her, everything changes, right? Everything. And similar to Proxima, she gets this nice extra passive when you have this uniform on her. The increased basic damage to supervillains by 45% that applies in all inhuman allies. And this applies to herself as well as the regular Inhumans. And she gets insane attack buffs with this thing. 35% on her 5. She gets a 70% on her 3 with a crit rate buff by 45%. It's just insane. And she gets a heal. Like, like I said, I mean, this is a zero to hero tier list. These characters, like in this uniform, Medusa is godly compared to what she previously had. It's just over the top what this thing has done. And she's a really good character to have. You know, even as a sub DPS character, against Null or even Mephisto because she is a universal type. She has a great leadership that applies to all universal types. And if you do have Black Bolt on the team, then he's going to also get that damage dealt to supervillain. So I think she's just a wonderful character to have on this list. The next one is going to be, let me see if I can find, oh boy. Where you at, brother? Where you at, brother? Luke Cage. Now, Luke Cage is mainly a PvP character. That's pretty much what he is. But in his base kit, come on now, there is no comparing. There is no comparing at all what he is coming from. Look at this. This guy has got jack all. He has nothing. He has no means of survivability. He dies super easy. I mean, yeah, he's got decreased damage received by 30%. No immunity, no invincibility, nothing. You slap this thing on him, everything changes. Everything changes because now he has a 30% increase of max HP. So has decreased damage received by 30%. Got that nice reflect, right? He also has damage accumulation based on damage you deal. He has the 5-second immunity. He has ignore iframe. He has invincibility on his 5. I mean, it's just leaps and bounds better than what it was before. Like, in my opinion, even to this day, I think this is a must-buy uniform for PvP. Then he has the insane passive heal that this uniform gives him also, where he has the recovery, the Wolverine recovery. Whenever you get below 99% HP, you get a 5% recovery of max HP every second on a 2-second cooldown. That is massive. It makes the character damn near unkillable. And then he also has a remove all debuff leadership for 12 seconds that applies to all defender allies. So, I mean, he's just got a crazy setup, especially for PvP. I mean, Luke Cage, he might have fallen down a little bit ever since Gilgamesh arrived, but he's still a very strong character and definitely belongs on the Zero to Hero list. The next one is Johnny. And Johnny's pretty amazing, one, because he's a cheap character to build. He's a free-to-play character. And also, in this uniform, he gets a couple nice little things on his kit. He gets a nice damage proc on his 4, which really bumps up his damage. And then he has paralysis on this thing at the same time, which is useful against regular world boss because he locks him in place while he's doing it. But against World Boss Legend, not so much. But it is an iframe. And then he also has this insanity of 100% increase of energy attack by 6 seconds. These two buffs and these two skills made this uniform godly for him. And he was already a pretty strong character before, to be fair. But really, the uniform really just puts him over the top, at least in my opinion. Really, amongst all these characters on the Zero to Hero list, he's probably the one that was, like, before he got this uniform, he was actually a pretty decent character. But seriously, this thing really did bump him up tremendously. I mean, it skyrocketed his damage. And then, of course, you got the Awakened skill, but that, that's applicable whether or not he's got the uniform or not. But in his base kit, in the uniform prior, he just didn't have those things. He didn't have the giant increase in energy attack. I mean, he's got a 10% increase of energy attack versus 100% with what he has now, right? He didn't have the damage proc on the 4 at all. I mean, the new uniform just bumped him up tremendously. I can't even remember what's on his uniform effect. And then he gets an increased fire damage by 45% in his newest uniform, and it's by 20% in the old uniform. It's just a huge upgrade for Johnny, and definitely a character I would still recommend for everybody to build. Just monstrous one-shot king. Now, the next one is definitely a massive Zero to Hero. Don't think anybody would argue with this, and that is Black Dwarf. Now, Black Dwarf, in his regular uniform, which I never even bought because I never thought it was worth buying, at least in my humble opinion, it was an okay uniform, right? I mean, he had damage accumulation on it. He had 3 seconds of immunity, and this is an accumulation based on the damage you deal, right? I mean, but he really didn't have a whole lot else. He didn't have any attack buffs. He didn't have, like, the heal that he has in his newest uniform. And when you take a look at this damn thing, hey, look at this, man. When he gets below 90% HP, he gets a 7% recovery of max HP heal, right? And then you start scrolling down, you start looking at his kit. Now he has a crit rate buff, another attack buff by 35%. You go to his 4th skill, he has a 25% increase of max HP heal. Say what? Then he has to increase all attack buff by 35% here. On his fifth skill, he still has the damage accumulation, 1.1%. He has ignore target dodge rate on his skill. He has paralysis on the skill. He has 7 seconds of immunity, so you got the heal. You got the extra immunity. I mean, and he's got guard break immunity in this thing. He decreased damage received from reflected effects by 60%, making him PvP viable. I mean, this uniform skyrocketed Black Dwarf. He's easily, at least in my opinion, probably the best combat character in the game in this uniform. And I do believe this was a 0 to hero uniform by a large margin. And since we're talking about Black Order characters, let's talk about the next 0 to hero, which was Supergiant. I don't think anybody would argue this at all. Supergiant was complete and utter trash before she got this uniform. This is the first uniform she ever got. This damn thing here, this thing is a joke. This is a joke. She has nothing. Nothing. No immunity, no invincibility, right? Very little iframes, just complete and utter trash. Well, the funny thing is, in this uniform, she doesn't have any immunity or invincibility either, except for her awakened skill. But she does have a heal. She does have a 40% increased attack buff and the crit rate buff on her 5, right? She has insanity damage on her 4. She also has paralysis on it. She has ignore iframe on her 3. She has increased basic damage proc by 75%. She also has the invisibility passive, which gives her a lot of extra survivability. All of these things that she didn't have before. Supergiant is godly. This is one of the easiest characters to play in the game, and she never misses because you put the proc on a 3rd skill, and she's always going to hit her target because she has ignore iframe on this thing. She's actually really damn good in PvP as well. If you build her for PvP, she's actually really good. That's something else that's nice about this uniform. And she increases all resistances by 33%. She has a guaranteed dodge rate by 33%. She has a decreased basic damage received by 33% in this uniform. It is a massive, like, there's no comparing to what she was before, what this thing is doing for her now. Godly uniform. I would highly recommend queuing this thing up, especially if you already have Supergiant or you're working on her and building her up. The next one is going to be, let me see if I can find old boy here. Where are you at, brother? Where are you at, brother? Where are you at? War Machine. Now, War Machine is a very, very strong character. He's not the best character in the game, but he is a really good sub-DPS character. A character that you can bring in, use as a striker. And because, I mean, look, this guy's got a lot of damn uniforms. He's got a lot of uniforms. But in his base, like in the most previous uniform he had, prior to the one we have now, in the in-game uniform, he didn't really have much survivability, right? He had a guard hit. Right, he just had iframes, and that was it. And he had these funky cooldowns, which made it difficult to keep the proc where it belonged. But whenever you slap on this thing, things change. Everything changes. Because now, he actually has an accumulation based on the damage you take. He has 5 seconds of immunity, so he already has better survivability than what he had before. Right? He has an all attack buff by 30%, and he has invincibility for 5 seconds. So he's got immunity and invincibility in this uniform. So that's already increased his survivability tremendously. And he has a heal on his 4. His damage is extremely good. He also can give characters this basic attack by 40% and increase HP by 30% and increase basic defense by 40% to technokinetic allies. Characters like Iron Man, characters like Cable. So he's a really great support character for those characters as well. So you can use him as a good sub DPS. He already has the leadership. I've always recommended War Machine for a lot of players, and this really is a godly upgrade compared to what he was before. He's so freaking strong that it's not even funny. What a great character. Freaking love playing this guy. And he's very cheap to build, like the next character that we're going to bring up, which is, let me see if I can find him. Where you at, brother? Where you at? ShangChi. And ShangChi, come on now. Come on. He's only got 1 uniform since he came into this game. And this thing is just like all the rest we talked about for the most part. There is nothing as far as survivability, as far as damage at all in this damn thing. I mean, yeah, he gets a 24% increase of physical attack, but believe me, that's nothing. He has no form of survivability, no immunity, no invincibility. Nothing in this kit. Nothing. You slap this damn thing on him. oh, it all changes. It all changes. So he gets an accumulation 50% chance when attacking in this thing. He gets iframes. He gets paralysis here. He gets, here's the ignore iframe, which actually makes him very good for PvP. It gives him super armor, reflects 80% of damage. So he has to reflect. He has 4 seconds of invincibility. So already his survivabilities went up tremendously. He has ignore target dodge rate by 100% for 6 seconds, which is amazing against Null. He has a 4 seconds of immunity on this damn thing. He also has an increased attack by 30%. I mean, ShangChi in this uniform is so good. Well, I mean, I know I said it multiple times already, but I'll say it again. He's godly. The only thing about ShangChi that I never liked in this uniform was his rotation, but he absolutely belongs on the 0 to hero tier list because he really was complete crap before. Just total trash. And now, and he's even got the decreased basic damage received by 40% from his uniform effect. Now, he's godly. The character has insanity, and I believe, as far as his, he also has insanity heals as well. I think it's on his 3rd skill. Yeah, 50% recovery of max HP for 1 second. So you got the immunity, you got the invincibility, you got ignore iframe, you got reflect damage, you have super armor, you have a giant heal, you have decreased basic damage received. I mean, this was a complete rework from top to bottom, just like all the other characters on this list, just godly. And then last but not least is my man, Doom. And Doom wasn't a bad character before, but he just wasn't very good compared to this damn uniform. This uniform really skyrocketed Doom and just made him one of the best characters in the game. I mean, he's always had the revive, he's always had this crazy leadership, and he's always had this heal. But they gave him a 45% increase of all attack on his 4. They gave him the paralysis, which is really nice. He still has the damage accumulation that you can move around. The 2 has ignore iframe. The ignore iframe and the giant attack buff are really the things that really made this uniform godly. And they also changed his 1 where you could actually cancel this thing immediately and get that 30% attack buff along with the crit rate buff. I mean, having these multiple attack buffs, having the ignore iframe really helped Doom's power and his damage and his PvE content. And he's always had a fairly good PvP kit, but with this uniform, his PvE viability actually skyrocketed. And then, of course, you got this uniform effect, which is just nuts. Decreased damage received by 40%, increased target and ignore target dodge rate by 50%, increased chain hit damage when attacking. I mean, all these things, decreased damage received from reflected effects by 60%. All of these things make him godly. Was he a 0 before? I think he was, because nobody used him for anything. Even if you have his tier 3 and you're just using his base kit, it's really not that great compared to this thing. When you slap this uniform on him, you'll see his damage just skyrocket, and he actually becomes insanely better in PvP for all the reasons that we just explained. Now, there are a lot of other uniforms in the game that are very good and very strong. I mean, Moon Knight, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Gilgamesh, Cersei, Captain America, all those uniforms are really great, right? And they're all worth purchasing, they're all worth buying because they make the characters insanely strong. I mean, Iron Fist and Moon Knight definitely are 0 to hero uniforms. They're godly upgrades. I didn't put Iron Fist on this list because I feel like a lot of players don't play with him, but he is very strong, and he did get a godly upgrade in his newest uniform. You also have characters like Wolverine, which, I mean, this was a huge upgrade. I don't think it really made him from a 0 to a hero. It made him really great in PvP. It did make him an ABX meta, but I don't know if I would consider it a hero because I still find him pretty lacking in World Boss Legend. Scarlet, kind of the same thing, right? This is a terrific uniform, and it did make her a whole lot better than what it was before, but she's really just ABX. I mean, you can use her as a sub DPS and World Boss Legend, but she just isn't as strong as what I really think she should be. Maker, he's another one. This is a very good uniform for the character, and you could put him on this list as well. I mean, there's a lot. We've had a lot of really great uniforms, especially in the past year, but the ones that I listed I feel like those characters just got the largest benefits from whenever you bought those uniforms for them. So let me know who you think is a 0 to hero uniform, and I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. GMT+7 time. The link is in the description below, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See ya.